Hi, my name is Paige Millham, and the title of my project is How to Crush Climate Change Communication. This past summer, I worked under Jared Schneider at the King County Emergency Management Branch in order to increase climate change communication in the county, specifically with project partners. So the context and background of my project is that failed climate communication is an issue that has many detrimental effects both on people and the environment. King County's project partners, who are the people who write grant applications and implement projects to better the well-being of the county, lack accessibility to the convincing climate data that is relevant to their national grant applications. Therefore, their applications aren't as strong on a national scale. Making climate data more available clearly and concisely for project partners is difficult due to the diversity of climate-related issues and potential projects on the horizon. So my project basically aims to increase the likelihood King County is granted the funding by making local climate data more accessible through an education plan. So my research question is, what are the best practices to integrate climate change information into education plans for project partners in King County? The internship and methods basically circled around me creating this education plan for King County's project partners in order to make the climate data more accessible. So I did this in the form of a PowerPoint. I provided the script in which I gave the presentation via Zoom so that they could play this presentation again and again as years to come until basically the data becomes outdated. And I also provided a annotated bibliography so project partners can go back and snag the information that is relevant to their projects and cite the sources directly. Simultaneously, I conducted my research to answer my research question. So I interviewed 5 climate change experts about the most effective climate communication methods, and I simultaneously conducted a literary analysis on relevant climate change communication literature. And as you can see in figure 1, I commuted to the office every day, King County's emergency management office in Renton, Washington, where I worked directly with Jared, which was such an awesome experience. The results of my study was most interesting from the expert interviews. As you can see, there were 6 key themes that were emphasized necessary by the experts. On figure 2, you can see on the y-axis there is the number of experts that supported specifically each theme. Clear visual aids and local and specific evidence were supported by all experts, and appealing to your audience was supported by 4 out of 5, and then optimistic tone and solutions and space for questions were supported by 3 out of 5, and repetition of key ideas was only specifically noted by 1. I threw up some quotes from climate change experts. The most powerful of the 6 I felt were: give me a reason to hope, give me a pathway to enact change, avoid jargon, have simple graphics, relatable analogies, and grounding data in as much locally relevant information as possible, and innovate a form of communication by understanding your audience, their reactions, and what the ultimate goal is. So the results from my literary review were very similar to the results from my expert interviews. As you can see in figure 3, the Venn diagram shows the primary overlap of key ideas. The only 3 that were not included in both were repetition of key messages, the space for questions, and storytelling to engage emotion. So my key findings were the clear visual aids, the optimistic tone and solutions, space for questions, local specific evidence, repetition of key ideas, and appealing to your audience. All of these findings of best practices of climate change communication were used to develop the education plan presented to the project partners. So as you can see in the significance section, all key findings from my research were included in the structure of this plan. I first started with the major risks of climate change. I then spoke with a very optimistic tone about the doom and gloom of climate change and how the topic could be depressing, but how project partners are actually part of the solution, and they have so much power to combat a lot of the risks and challenges climate change brings to King County. Within each subsection, severe weather, water-related risks, and fire-related risks I had clear visual aids, local specific evidence, and I tried to appeal to my audience both in my personal disposition, but also tailoring information to be most relevant to the project partners here in the Pacific Northwest. And I left a space for questions at the end, and a repetition of 3 key ideas as suggested by one of the experts. So the significance of my project is that this project effectively summarizes the current methods of climate change communication and identifies areas of growth for climate change education in King County in the years to come. Additionally, this accessible climate data resource can be used in the future, both my personal presentation on Zoom, but also if another King County representative wants to give the presentation, they have access to both the PowerPoint and the script. And this will continue to increase the likelihood of receiving funding for projects that benefit the well-being of people and the planet. But looking forward, this project is just a small stepping stone for government to increase climate crisis education, specifically its risks and solutions. As climate change communication increases, monetary funding, community efforts, and policy changes will follow, helping to combat a multitude of global issues. I'd like to acknowledge a bunch of people that have supported me throughout this process, specifically my site supervisor, Jared Schneider, my faculty advisor, Ann Bostrom, all of the POE faculty, my parents, my family, and my friends for all the support they've given me throughout my capstone, but also just my collegiate experience. You guys rock. Thanks.